isn't it? Okay. Alright. Please stop doing homework right now and look at this, because these are the type of questions that's going to be on your final exam from the vector unit. Number 1, it says find this position vector and write it in the form AI plus BJ. First of all, you're going to find the components of it and then write it in the linear form, okay? How did I find the components of two vectors? I took the x sub 2 and did what? Minus x sub 1. What's 3 minus negative 2? Okay, now negative 4 minus 3 is? Do you remember doing that? That is your horizontal component, and that's your vertical component of the vector. Do y'all remember that? Okay. Number 2. It says if vector u equals negative 4i plus 3j and vector v equals 5i minus 7j, then find vector u minus vector v. So you remember just setting a negative 4i plus 3j minus 5i minus 7j. What do I combine? What does this minus do to everything? So now I got negative 4 and negative 5 gives me negative 9. 3 and 7 gives me 10j. Are y'all good on those? It says find the magnitude of this vector 5i minus 12j. Remember the magnitude formula equals the square root of a squared plus b squared. This is your a term, that's your b term. Okay? So finding the magnitude, my a is 5, my b is negative 12. Gives me 169. What's the square root of 169? 13. That's the length of the vector. It's 13 units. Number 4 says find the dot product between these two vectors. Find the dot product between these two vectors. What am I going to multiply here? Negative 5 and what? Negative 5 times negative 6. What operation goes right here? Plus, and then negative 2 times what? 3. Remember, dot product's that fourth operation. There's not division with vectors. There's dot product. So you're going to multiply this times this plus this times this. So negative 5 times negative 6 is 30. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. That gives you a total of the dot product is 24. Are there any questions on that? We did review the dot product. Remember, finding the magnitude of a vector, the formula is the square root of a squared plus b squared. If I have the vector 5i minus 12j, your a term is 5, your b term is negative 12. Square root of 5 squared plus negative 12 squared gives you square root of 169, so the magnitude is 13. So you're going to have a question like that on the final. We're going to find the magnitude of vector in this form. You're going to find the dot product like this. When I give you two vectors and I say subtract u minus v, here's your two vectors. That minus that. Remember, a minus in front of everything changes the sign. Got one like that. Then when it says find its position vector, it's just talking about its component and putting it in linear form. You said 3 minus negative 2, which is 5. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. Remember, component form would have been this. I got it this, but didn't want it in the linear form, so I put it in that form there. Are there any questions on those 4 questions? Okay, let's look at these two. Number 5. It says, if the magnitude is 8 and the theta equals 45, write vector in AI plus BJ. Remember, we've got to have an A and a B. If you remember, A equals what? The magnitude times what? Very good, Max. Cosine theta. And B equals the magnitude times the sine of theta. Alright, so A equals 8 cosine of 45.
Just wanted to share those with you, and then we'll get to the Pledge of Allegiance to get our day started. I I do want to give a big shout out to our softball teams last night. Our varsity beat Jennison last night 7-5, and the JV won 10-1. So congratulations to our softball teams on those victories. And I think they also have a game tonight that will be senior night that's scheduled. So please come out and support that.
And that would be my answer.
Our senior softball players
so you have 6 questions on your final deal on vectors, and one is like each of these I'm going over right now.
Game starting at 4:30 today.
This is the one that is not multiple choice.
Please remember about our exemption policies.
This is a short answer on there.
Every day, on time.
I'm saying find 6 times B, so 6 times vector B.
Okay, that ends on May the 4th as far as
that would be my answer.
The day.
That's a short answer, okay?
This week and then the end of next week.
Find vector A minus find vector B.
On time, so hopefully we can keep that incentive for exam exemption.
What does this minus do to everything here?
Students in grades 9 through 11.
4 and 3 gives me 7. 2 and negative 5 gives me negative 3. That's your answer.
On April the 30th, we'll be looking for it. It's going out to students and parents, and it contains important, very important summer school information. Okay, especially I need you to pay close attention to the driver's ed info. So
that was an easy unit. Y'all remember that unit?
Taking driver's ed this summer. Please note that the requirements by the state, which limits the number of students that we can have in our courses, and it caps the number of students at 14 students. Okay, and the way we're going to handle this is going to be a first come, first served sign up in student services for driver's ed. Okay, and you must pay at sign up. If you do not pay the full amount for the course fee at that time, you will you won't be able to register for the course, because again, it's going to be first come, first served, and once the 14 students that sign up for that are filled, the class is full and no one else can join. So that's very important information. You don't have to do anything today, okay? But that information is going to be going out on April the 30th, so I'm going to continue to remind everyone about that. Also included in that opportunity, that's not, when we think about summer school, it's not just credit recovery, it's not just if you failed courses, but also there's opportunities to take credit advancement courses and to get ahead. So if you're interested in taking courses in the summer through Edgenuity to get ahead and to get some additional credit to create some opportunities.
Like you will take out A, B, and B, C, you take A, B this summer and B, C next year.
And beyond, please consider that, okay? Because that is a great opportunity for you to talk to your parents about that. But again, that information is going out on April the 30th. At this time, I'll turn it over to TJ.
Then you would have taken these.
Science, English, and history of the summer. So on middle school history.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So let's say you want to take AP Stats, but you're taking AP, you can take AP Stats. So guess what? There's no teacher. It's all a computer.
It's always a great day to be a warrior, and so let's make that choice today, like we do every day, and let's be warriors.
Wait, but can I take those 3 classes? I bet history and English.
History and English would be alright, but math was hard on the computer. When you had to, like, I took all my masters of math. I had to take 6 math classes from my masters, and all the teachers had to read so and so page. Good morning. Read so and so pages and figure out the problem. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But yes.
Like, you have to come here and do it, or can you do it?
Yeah, you have to come here, I think. And you can do some at home, but I think you have to show up some here. All right. So, guys, let's get a plan of attack of how you need to start attacking this before next week, because I don't want you waiting Wednesday. We have just reviewed chapter 5, 6, 9, and 11 this week. Tomorrow, I'm going to review the first 2 lessons, chapter 7. Take what we did this week, go home Saturday and Sunday or one of those days, and just review that material. Get that under your belt, and then next week we can worry about a lot of the tests. This is chapter 8, polar coordinates. You got me? So that's what I'm saying. Learn half of it this weekend, and then next week while you have other classes, because other teachers don't know that it's your final exam next week. So you're going to have regular homework, so you're going to have to be able to balance that time. And that's what you have to do when you go to college as well. Like, you have to plan ahead. Plan ahead, and that's what, just plan ahead on this. Are there any questions on this? See, we already did 2 of the short answer on the back, and the third one was one of those vector problems. I just didn't put it on the back. Both of these last 2 come from polar coordinates. Polar coordinates. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not reviewing that because we're doing that right now, limits and derivatives. All right. Okay, let's get our homework out. I'm going to put these problems up here. I want you to check them. I've already worked them all out. I want you to take each time to check them. This is the first one. You have 6 of these on your test next Tuesday. So let's say, I don't like these ones learning well. You miss 6 of them, you fail the test.
We don't have to do all 6 of them this way, do we?
The first page,
It'll be like 2 though.
the first page, I forgot, I looked at the test last night. There's 6 on the front page. It says use formal definition on the back and use your shortcuts.
How many are there?
About 15. I'm going to do a homework check tomorrow. So all homework needs to be completed by tomorrow. Alright, so on this first one, we're using the formal definition. We have f of x equals negative 3x plus 7. Here's your formal definition. I take x plus h and plug it in. I get this right here. Minus f of x, which I take x, plug it in, it doesn't change it, over h. This minus changes everything. At this point, everything that doesn't have an h should cancel out, and it does. I'm left with negative 3h over h. Since there's no plus or minus between this negative 3 and h, I can cancel that out. My derivative is negative 3. Well, after that, they want to know what is the instantaneous rate of change at x equals 1 and x equals 4. Is there any place to plug the 1 and 4 into this? So your instantaneous rate of change is negative 3 at those spots. Slope of the tangent line. Are there any questions on number 15? Number 17. If you don't have your homework, let's open your notebook and look like you do. Just saying. Just saying. F of x equals x squared minus 6. That is the function. I want to find the derivative using the formal definition. Formal definition, remember, is the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x over h. I would not give you this definition next Tuesday on your test. The limit as h approaches 0 is f of x plus h minus f of x over h. So I find this one first. I go under x plus h squared minus 6. Full it out, minus 6. I put that here first. Minus f of x would stay the same over h. This minus changes everything. At this point, everything that doesn't have an h should cancel out. It does. I get to here. I tried direct substitution. It still doesn't work. I'm going to use factor, and I factor out an h on top. Those h's cancel out. I'm left with 2x plus h. Well, now I direct substitute 0 in for h. I get 2x. That's my derivative. That is my. Do you notice how I write my derivative answer? F. What? How do you pronounce this notation? F prime. F prime. So I need to see that. F prime of x equals 2x. That lets me know that's the derivative of that, aka slope generator. Now I want to know what is the IROC at x equals -1. Well, at x equals -1, my slope is -2. At x equals 3, my IROC, my slope is 6 of the tangent line. There's my derivative, and there's my IROC at each of those x values. If you didn't practice this last time, you got a checkpoint tomorrow. All right, number 18. Check your work. 19. Find f of x plus h, plug that in, I get this right here, minus f of x, the original, divided by h. At this point, everything that doesn't have an h should cancel out, it does. I get to here, I still have 0 in the denominator, I need to factor out an h. I do that here. Apply direct substitution, I get my derivative is 2x minus 3, f prime of x equals 2x minus 3. That is my derivative of the original equation. Now I want to know what's going on. What is my IROC at 3/2? Where at 3/2 it is equal to 0. You see I put f prime of 3/2. I plug that into my derivative. X equals 2. F prime of 2 equals 1. Pay very close attention how I wrote my final answer and how I did the bottom here. Are there any questions on the first three? Number 23. F of x equals square root of x. F of x plus h, I'll take that, I plug that in. Now I say that minus that over h. While I apply direct substitution, cannot do that, use toolkit strategy. I'm going to rationalize the numerator. When I do that, I get x plus h minus x. Those x's cancel out. Distribute. Now I'm going to factor out an h on bottom because I'm trying to get those h's cancel out. When those cancel out, that leaves a 1 there. Now I'm going to apply direct substitution. X plus 0 is x. So I got square root of x here plus square root of x. Well, I got square root of x plus square root of x. That gives me 2 square root of x. So my derivative of that original problem is f prime of x equals 1 over 2 square root of x. You want to know what is my IROC, my slope of the tangent line at x equals 1. F prime of 1, I plug that in and get 1/2. X equals 4, I get 1/4. Are there any questions on that one? And the last one, number 25. The original problem is f of x equals 4 over x. I take x plus h, I plug it in. Minus f of x, I have this right here. I apply 0, I get 0 in the denominator. So I'm going to use my toolkit strategy of finding a common denominator. By common denominator, I cannot make this become that, and I can't make that become that by multiplying. So I have to settle for both of them. So my common denominator is x plus h times x. What was this missing over here? An x. So I multiply the numerator by x. That's 4x. Over here it's missing an x plus h. So I'm going to multiply the numerator by that. That equals 4x minus 4h over this, over that. The x's cancel out. Negative 4h over x plus h times x. I'm going to rewrite it. Divided by h is times 1 over h. Those h's cancel out. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 over this. Well, now I'm going to apply direct substitution. I plug 0 in for h. X plus 0 is x. X times x is x squared. So my f prime equals negative 4 over x squared. That is my derivative. So what is going on at x equals negative 2? F prime of negative 2 is equal to negative 1. F prime of 1 is equal to negative 4. What is happening at the graph since these values are negative? The graph is doing what at those moments? Decreasing. If these values are equal to positive, what's going on? Increasing. What if it's 0? Turning, yes. Turning. Or it's a local min and max. Are there any questions? Are they making more sense after 2 days of it? If you need help with this, come in 0 period or do your homework. One of the two, some of us. Group over here. Just saying. Good. Because you remember that conversation I had with you outside yesterday? That's strike 1. Okay. Alright, let's turn to page 23. Let's learn the shortcuts today. This is what we're going to do today, tomorrow, Friday, Monday, and then test Tuesday. There's a lot of rules, guys, but I don't make you memorize that because I just want you to look at a situation, be able to know what you do on this. If you're taking the derivative of a constant, just a plain old number, the derivative of any constant is just equal to 0, okay? The derivative of a constant is 0. So if I say, what's the derivative of 8? That is 0. This is page 23. The single variable rule. Remember yesterday, I'm going to write it up here. Let's say we have a single variable, t or x. What's the understood exponent right here, guys? 1. What did we do? We brought this down yesterday. You remember this? 1 times 1 is what? So I got 1t. And what did I subtract from this exponent? What's 1 minus 1? So anything raised to 0 is what? 1 times 1 is. So that means just if you have a single variable, the derivative of it is 1. And that is why, the way I just showed you. If you have just the variable x, the variable y, the variable z, the derivative of that is 1, and that is why. Understood exponent 1, bring it down, multiply. Subtract 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. Anything raised to 0 is 1, so 1 times 1 is 1. That's why the derivative of any single variable is equal to 1. The power rule, you already know that because we just used that one. You bring the n down and subtract 1 off this. I bring it down and multiply it and minus 1. So for this one right here. Now let's talk about notation for a minute. Do you see how this notation was f of x or h of x? And do you see how I wrote the derivative as f prime, h prime? If it's just y, that is when you use this notation dy over dx. That also means derivative, okay? That also means derivative. Now, what is understood in front of this x right here? A 1. What's 5 times 1? And then take 1 off that, so it would be 5x to the what? That's your derivative. And this is the same thing right here. So, like these two right here, these get confusing right here, so I'm just going to explain it using here. Okay, first of all, will I write dy over dx or f prime here? F prime. I'm going to say what? 5 times 35, x to the what? 4th, yes. That would be my derivative. You would get the same answer if you did that long formal definition, but We do that for 2 days to appreciate this. All right, here we go. We got multiple. You just take one thing at a time, okay? I'm going to say 2 times what? Which is negative 32. I've got h prime, so it's negative 32 what? T, because 2 minus 1 is what? 2 minus 1 is? That's why it's just t, okay? Okay. What's understood right here with this t? 1 times 30 is? 1 minus 1 is what? So do I need to worry about a variable there? And this is just a constant on it. All constants are equal to what derivative? So that's your derivative right there. Is negative 32t plus 30. There are derivatives for trig functions, but we're not getting into all of them. The ones I only want you to know this year is what sine and cosine. The derivative of sine is cosine x. The derivative of cosine is negative sine x. That's the only two you got to know. Next year you learn about tangent, cosecant, and all that.
Wait, what goes in the second one up from the bottom?
This one right here? Or this right here?
The other one above it.
This right here?
Yes.
I'm not going to use that. I just showed you how to do it over here. Because those two boxes just do more confusing than good for you, okay? Alright. So how do we do this? Okay, so if I have the function f of theta, and I want to find the derivative, first of all, I'm going to put f prime, because it's in that format. You don't do anything with the 4. You just put the 4 down. What's the derivative of sine? What's the derivative of sine? So it's just 4 cosine theta is your derivative. That 4 just hangs out there. That's the derivative of 4 sine theta is 4 cosine. Yes. Alright, but quickly, walk like you got on a mission, okay? Leave the phone here. You don't need the phone here. Thank you. Okay. 2 cosine. What will be the derivative of that? Negative 2 sine x, because cosine is negative. Now, what note do I use? Y prime or dy over dx? Mm-hmm. So that's going to be negative 2 sine, and it's negative because the derivative of cosine is negative sine. Aren't this so much easier than the other? That's all we're practicing today, okay? We're going to do this bottom page today. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you use dy over dx. Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be negative 2 sine x. I'm sorry. That's an x. Sorry. Good job. All right, here we go. We're going to look at these 18 examples today. Neighborhood friendly dogs are here. Hope. Should they? Mr. Fair?
I've never seen it before.
Wait till Zach comes out of the bathroom in a minute. Number 1. God, I probably will see him for the rest of the day in just a minute. Number 1.
You just turn.
Yeah, he's going to turn and just... Number 1, S of t. Alright. So how would I find my derivative there, guys? Come on, talk to me. It's laid back today. All we got is to do these examples.
Negative 5.
Okay, how would I write this? S prime of t equals, what's 5 times negative 1? Negative 5t to the what? 4th. That's your answer. I was about to throw the book bag out there in the hallway and just say, let's see if the dolls rip it apart. One time I was in Demopolis that year I threatened to be killed. Let me tell you that. So when they bought Joe dolls, it was like 5 or 6. It was like a herd of them. Like, they were like hounds in the hallway going on. So I'm sitting in that 9th grade class, and those dolls come in my room. We were out in the hallway for 30 minutes. They were dragging book bags across, and I'm sitting there laughing, going, whose book bag is that one? About 5 of them got suspended at the end of that class.
Like Christmas.
It was like Christmas. All right. Number 2, y equals 7. Okay, that's a constant, isn't it? So I'm going to put dy over dx. So what's my derivative of 7? 0. Very good. Number 3, f prime of x. What's the first thing I would do? What would be my derivative of x cubed, Reese?
3x squared.
Very good. Does everybody understand? We brought the 3 down and multiplied it by the 1 and took 1 off of it. 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, what would be my derivative of negative 4x, Josiah? What would be my derivative of this negative 4x? Now I'm just talking about what would be my derivative of this middle term right here, buddy. Negative 4. Very good. Because I got 1, bring it down. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. 1 minus 1 is what, guys? 0. So x raised to 0 is just what? 1. Do I need to put that? And then isn't plus 5 just a constant? Plus 5 to derivative 0. So that is my derivative for this function, 3x squared minus 4.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why are they trying so hard at the end of the year?
You have to do it so many times, buddy. You just be thankful they're not coming in here because Mr. Ferry said your room didn't get chosen today.
What
So,
would they do?
strip dogs.
Oh!
No, look, I didn't know that was what they were doing. Though. I just saw Austin and then like everybody was like, ooh.
Okay, let's continue on our derivative discussion. So, yesterday our learning target was I can find the derivative by using the formal definition. Today is I just can find the derivative. On the first page part of your test, your assessment is going to have to be formal. Now, you can use your shortcut to check it to make sure you come up with the right answer when using formal, but you got to know how to do it both ways. All right, number 4. Now, on this one, how do you think we could rewrite this one to attack it?
Flip it.
Not quite flip it, but it does involve the fraction.
Negative exponents? Or
No, y'all create stuff now. Come on now, let's think here.
rationalize.
There's no radical in there. How can I just rewrite that to mean the same thing?
Yeah.
Very good. Just 1/2 times sine x, can't you? So you can rewrite it as 1/2 sine x. Very good, Emma. Now, when you have this that involves sine and cosine, you just find the derivative of the trig part. Okay? So I'm going to put dy over dx. What is your derivative of sine x? So it would be 1/2 cosine x. Or you can put cosine x over what? 2. Either way.
Isn't that a lot easier than if you just put cosine x over 2? Because then you don't have to do any rewriting.
Why did you have to
Yeah. why
Okay,
not?
because you're going to have problems that involve rewriting in a minute. I'm just trying to get your mind to think like that, okay? Yeah. Because look down here. You have to rewrite that. There's no way. That would just happen to be an easy one. Number 5. Y equals 2 pi. 2 pi is what? Is pi a variable or a number?
Number.
So that's like a constant right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 pi. So what's your derivative? 0.
These are easy.
Number 6. That's one single variable. What's your derivative there? 1. F prime of x equals 1. Number 7. S of t equals negative 3. That's a what number? So S prime would equal what? Very good. The derivative. Now number 8, you're forced to, you have to rewrite this right here. So I'm going to rewrite that as g of x equals negative 1/2 x to the 4th plus 3x cubed minus 2x. Now, g prime, I'm going to bring that 4 down. 4 times negative 1/2 is what, guys? Negative 2. Do you see how you had to rewrite that one there? That's negative 2, x what? Cubed. 3 times 3 is? Oh, yep, 9, sorry. 3 times 3 is 9. X what? Minus what? 2. That's your answer. These are easier than limits, aren't they? Okay, number 9. When you're adding You're gonna find the derivative of one and then the derivative of the other one. So number 9, y is going to be dy over dx. What's your derivative of x, guys? 1. What's your derivative of cosine? Negative. So that's going to be, that is your derivative. Limits is chapter 2 in calculus. Derivatives chapter 3. This is pretty much your Cal 1, yes. Okay, because the derivative of cosine is negative sign, so that cosine, I put a minus sign. All right, number 10, that's a constant, so what's your derivative? 0. Number 11, I'm going to use dy over dx because that means derivative as well. This involves trig, so I'm not going to do anything with 2. I'm just going to find the derivative of that trig part. Derivative of sine is what? So it's going to be 2 cosine x. Number 12, I can rewrite that as 1/2 x, can I? So what's the derivative of that right there? 1/2 x with the derivative would just be what? 1/2, correct. Let's get to harder ones. Or longer ones. So on number 13, we have 5 terms that you just take the derivative of each of them. F prime of x would be what, everybody? 4x what? Cubed. Very good. Now 3 times negative 3/2, that's going to be negative 9/2 x squared. Plus 4x is 2 times 2 is 4. Take 1 off that leaves an understood 1. And then what is the derivative of just x? Plus 1. And you don't, the minus 6 is a constant. Number 14. What would be the derivative of this one, Brendan? Very good. What's the derivative of this one right here, Caitlin? It's 0, so you don't have to put anything down. Very good. Number 15. G of prime. Always tell me if you can't see it, okay? Now, what do you think would be smart to do on this one right here? You got to distribute first. You got to distribute before you do anything. So I'm going to come over to the side. That will be 2x2. When you're multiplying like base, you do what with the exponents? Add. So you're really working with this function right here. So that's going to be 16x to the 7th plus 20x to the 4th. So you say, okay, what is significance of this? Okay, that's the original function. That is your slope generator. If you want to know what the IROC of any x value is, you plug that in. That tells you the slope of the tangent line at that point. Does everybody understand what that does? Okay. Number 16. F prime. What's my derivative of this, Zach? Rogers?
Hold on, I'm writing that one.
Okay.
4x to the
Very good. What's the derivative of this, Drayton? Very good. Big T, what's the derivative of that? Very good. So there's your answer. Good job. All right. Jake, what do you think we need to do first of all, would I write dy over dx here or h prime here, class? H prime. Okay. Now, Jake, what do you think we need to do on this one first? You can factor out an x, like bring an x out here, or you could just divide each one of these by x right here, okay? You split it up. But yeah, I know what you mean. Oh. Alright, so if I come over here, what's x? If I take an x out of this, what would that leave? 4x what? Cubed. Do you see that? I took an x. If I took an x out of that, what would that leave? Minus what? I had an x squared and I had an x. And then right here, that leaves 5. You could have done this right here. probably what you probably do right here. I took it out and I left that.
I think you should solve it straightforward as it is.
Okay, tell me how you would do that.
Well, that's on the line, that's just one.
See, you're not going to learn that this year. There's a rule for finding derivatives when you have x in the bottom. We're not going to get that. It's more complicated with that. Yes.
On number 15, I thought you were supposed to multiply exponents, not
When you have power raised to a power, like x to the 5th raised to a 3rd power, that's when you multiply. But when you're multiplying just this times this, you add exponents.
okay.
Like this, Max. This is when you multiply. You would multiply that, okay? Alright, so now, what's my derivative of this, Gracie? This first term. Very good. What's my derivative of the second term, Ms. Spicer? Very good. What about this, Reese? Very good. Alright, look at number 18. It's just, don't let the front, you do the fraction and exponent the same way, rational exponent. So, g of prime, what's 1/2 times 2? 1/2 times 2 is just what? 1. Now, what's 1/2 minus 1? Negative 1/2. 1/3 times 6 is what? 2. 1/3 minus 1 is negative 2/3. 3/2 times negative 2 is 3. 3/2 minus 1 is 1/2. Now, do we want negative exponents? I'll rewrite that as I'll put them in the denominator. Okay, let's turn it over. This is where it's very important to rewrite, okay? So if you have variables in the denominator, or you got radicals, you must rewrite it first, okay? That's why we did stuff in Math Workshop. You got to rewrite it first. And that's why Miss Ranillo said, please touch base on this, because that's what they had trouble with rewriting when they got to her this year. How can I rewrite this x to be in the, just so I can work with it, out of the denominator? It would be 2/3 what? X to the negative 2. Do you see how I rewrote that? 2/3 x to negative 2. When it's in that format, that's when you can bring it down and multiply like that, okay? So now I can differentiate this problem. So I'm going to use dy over dx equals negative 2 times 2/3 is negative 4/3 x. What's negative 2 minus 1? Negative 3. Do I like negative exponents to be in my final answer? No, so how could I write that as my final answer? Negative 4 over 3x cubed. That would be my answer. That sounds good.
So where did you get the one in the differential?
The one right here. Negative 2 times 2/3. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4/3. And I still minus 1. You remember the rule is minus 1. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. We're just doing 2 more, guys, and we're going to do the rest tomorrow, okay? Number 20. Y equals 2 over x. How can I rewrite that as y equals 2x to the what? Negative 1. Negative 1 times 2 is what? Negative 2. Negative 1 minus 1 is what? Negative 2. Now my final answer negative 2 over x squared. Okay, 21. I can rewrite that as 2x to the what? How can I rewrite that as a power? 1/2. What's 1/2 times 2? 1. 1/2 minus 1 is what? Negative 1/2. Rewrite it without negative exponent. I have 1 over the square root of x. Because x to the negative 1/2 would be x to the 1/2 on the bottom, which is square root of x. Is everybody good with that? We can stop right there for the day, and we'll pick up those tomorrow. Okay, right now.
Could you leave it as whatever x?
I would prefer you put it the other way. Let's talk about your homework. You can do these 10 right now and be done with. Page 25 in your notebooks 1 through 10. It will take you a grand total of 3 minutes. They're simple, like you can look at them. Do those first. These two are reviewing the formal definition. Okay, I just got to make sure you got that formal definition down, okay? Like I said, you could do 1 through 10 right now on page 25 and be done with it. On page 25 is the rules, the shortcut. You use the shortcut. The only one you got to use the formula is on 20 and 24. Huh? Yeah, that's what I told him when you went to the restroom. You'd be scared to death when you get back. Oh, God. And he cut you to take you off campus. I would have been giving you note takers while you're walking out. I said, please give him internet while he's in the police department so he can watch a video. Okay, finish at page 25 and be done with it. I'm not talking about you. Great. What you working on? Noah's just so happy he's not a name pusher. Come on, what the heck?
I'm in a 2 on my 85.
I thought
That big T and Zach, you know, you got to do last night's homework and tonight's homework.
Everybody finish page 25? That was easy. Now you just got to do the 2 formal definition on the other one. Tomorrow we're going to continue practice these rules. On a Friday, you're going to continue to practice these rules. Monday, rules, Tuesday, test. No, so your test is on the formal definition and shortcut. I just want to give you an intro. Next year, your college professor or Miss Ranello will take derivatives a lot. Fucker. You got the chain rule and all that. We're not going to get in the chain rule this year. You all doing it in class?
Yeah, we have to take a test today and paperwork.
What are y'all learning about?
I don't know why you bring them on the side. Maybe it should be cool. If you have a vehicle. See what I said? Does it run down?
How do they determine what period is what period we're into?
Just by a certain
I keep getting
like 2 is what the test is on today, and that's from like Jamestown or so up to French.
Yeah, but they're not going to.
That was one of our assignments, is we had to look them all up and say why they were.
I kind of wish I would have taken